What's up, everybody? I'm Clayton. Welcome to the pack. So today we're going to be reviewing Child's Play 2, released in 1990, directed by John LaFia. It stars Brad Dourif coming back voicing Chucky, Alex Vincent coming back to play Andy, and Christine Elise, I think is how you pronounce that, playing Kyle. Already reviewed the first Child's Play. You guys can go check that one out. Gave my thoughts on it. And all that good stuff. So that brings us to Child's Play 2, the sequel. I just want to say right off the bat here. So the way that I am choosing to approach this movie and the rest of this series is to simply give you guys what I like about the film and what I dislike about the film. I'm not going to be going into like the objective pros and cons. I'm not going to be sitting here as a film critic critiquing the film. I'm not going to be doing that. What I'm doing is simply giving you guys my thoughts on what I like about the movie and what I dislike about the movie. And then my rating that I give at the end will be based on that, on my subjective viewing experience and how I liked, my overall thoughts of how I liked the film. So moving forward, that's how I'm going to be approaching these movies that I review. So that in mind, disclaimer, this is just my opinion about the movie. You no need to be upset or offended by anything that I say about this film. Just my thoughts, just my opinion. All right. So getting into the positives here. One thing, and again, when I say positives, I'm talking about things that I personally liked with the film. And there are quite a bit. I did enjoy this film quite a bit this time around. One of the things that I liked about this film is Chucky. We got more of Chucky in this film, and I like that. You know, it's not necessarily that not having a lot of Chucky in the first one bothered me, because I get what they were doing in the first one, and they made it work. You know, you got a lot of the POV shots of Chucky in the first one. Here, we actually get to see more of Chucky. He's got more lines, more dialogue. You get to see more of Chucky's personality coming out in this film, and I like that. It makes me feel like I get to know this character more. It gives us kind of more layers to Chucky, getting to know his personality. It gives Brad Dourif more range as a voice actor to do more with the character, to try to, explore more vocal acting in his performance. So I like that we get more of Chucky. I think the animatronics effects here look really good. They're definitely improved. Things look more natural in it for a film that was released in 1990. I think it holds up pretty well. The visual effects and stuff like that look pretty good. But I do like that we get more Chucky in this film, more of his personality and more Brad Dourif's vocal performance. And I think he does an incredible job. Like, he's a beast, right? We all know Brad Dourif is a beast. He's a great actor. And I think he wasn't given a whole lot to do in the first one. Again, it was for a reason, but here I do think you can tell just listening to Chucky and listening to Brad Dourif's performance. I got the feeling like he was more comfortable and confident this time around, and he was able to bring more to Chucky through his vocal performance in this one than he did in the first one. And I like that. That is a positive for me in my viewing experience. I enjoyed getting more Chucky, getting more Brad Dourif's acting performance, through his vocals in this film. He was on form, and that was a strong positive for me. I also like the tone of this film. I think they kept the kind of a dark tone to this movie. It maybe a little bit lighter than the first one, but still dark enough to be horror. You know, like this was still a horror film. The tone of this film was still a dark tone that was kind of driving the genre of horror throughout the film. So they didn't go too light to where it became comical. They still kept it dark, and I enjoyed that, because some of the later films do get a little cheesy and a little just ridiculous and too far out there for me to really enjoy. So I like that they did keep a darker tone to this film, keeping that kind of horror theme and feeling throughout the movie, and respected the tone from the first one and try to bring that over into this film. That was something that I enjoyed in this film. I also like we got more kills, a higher body count, higher RIP count in this movie. I think Chucky was more of a savage in this one. He certainly had some pretty good kills, definitely more kills in this one than he had in the first. That's something that I like. When I come to a slasher film, I want some gnarly kills, man. I want to see some good RIPs, and I feel like Chucky gave us some in this one. You had the electrocution kill of the scientist guy. I think he was the first one to go. Then you had the bag strangulation in the car. You had some good ones. I think my favorite kill from this movie was probably the yardstick kill of the teacher in the classroom. I for whatever reason, that's always the kill that sticks with me the most. I know a lot of people would say the factory kill, when Chucky kills the guy in the factory with the eyeballs, and that is a pretty gnarly kill. But for me, my personal favorite would be the yardstick kill of the teacher. To me, that was more savage than the factory kill, because this was Chucky actually doing it. Like, you could argue the factory kill was more the machine that was killing that guy. It wasn't so much Chucky. Chucky may have knocked him onto the machine, but it was the machine that did the killing. Where here, with the yardstick, it's actually Chucky is beating this teacher to death with the yardstick. And that's a savage kill. That's a gnarly kill. That is a Chucky kill. And so that's probably my favorite kill from this one. But some good kills. We get more quantity of kills. We get creative kills. That's another thing that I liked. They didn't just they didn't make any two kills the same, and that's something that I appreciated. There are some horror slasher films where it's like every kill is like the same type of kill. I'm looking at you, Ghostface. Don't get me wrong, I love Scream. I love the Scream movies, love the Scream franchise. But that's something that's always kind of been a negative for me with Scream, is that it's like every kill is just that typical stabby stab, type of kill. They don't mix it up at all. They don't throw in any type of creative kill in that franchise. It's all very predictable. But here with Child's Play, and specifically Child's Play 2, they give you a variety of different kills, and they mix it up. It makes it unpredictable. You don't know what's coming. You don't know how Chucky's going to kill someone. And I like that. I like seeing a creative kill body count, and they give that to you here in Child's Play 2. So that was also something that I liked. More kills and a creative methods of killing in this one. I also liked the relationship that they established with Andy and Kyle in this film. I think that added a much needed type of emotional depth to this film. And that's going to be something I kind of get into more with the negatives. But I like here that we get Andy and Kyle in this kind of foster brother sister relationship. I buy it. I think it's genuine. They have good chemistry together. I feel for these kids. I buy into their relationship. I think that Kyle does a good job at kind of being this older sister to Andy and kind of protecting him, watching over him. You believe that she cares about Andy. That's the other thing. Like, she's a very good character, a strong character, that's well written and well used. I like her as a character. I believe that she cares, and yeah, I like their relationship together. It feels genuine, feels real, and yeah, good chemistry between those two. So that is a positive, something that I enjoyed, is seeing that relationship, because it can be hard when you're having a kid actor to have that kid actor carry the whole film on their own. Because kids are typically young and inexperienced, and unless you're Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone, it's gonna be very hard to find a kid actor that can carry an entire film. And so I like, especially a 6-8-year-old kid like Alex Vincent was in these first two films. In the first one, he had his mom and the detective guy to kind of help carry some of the load, and here he gets Kyle to kind of help carry some of that as well, and I like that, and I like their relationship together as well. So that was a positive for me. The pacing was good. I thought it goes by at a pretty good pace. I don't think they spend they don't spend too long of a time in any one setting or any one plot point or anything like that, dialogue scene. They keep things moving, and I think it makes the film go by at a pretty good pace. I'm engaged the whole time. I'm not getting bored or restless or checking my phone. The pacing and the entertainment is pretty good throughout the film. So the pacing was another thing that I liked with this film. The performances I thought were good, in particular by Alex Vincent. I think he does a little more with the Andy character than he did in the first one. And granted, he was very young in that first one, and he was young in this one too, but I don't know, I just felt like there's a little more believability, a little more confidence as well with him in this film. I thought he did a good job, gave a good performance for a kid actor. I thought he did well, and then the girl that plays Kyle, I thought also did a really good job in her performance. And I think they had good chemistry, and I think that's partly why their performances were good, because they meshed well together on screen. And they in particular, I thought, gave good performances. And then, obviously, Brad Dourif as Chucky is always, he's always on point. So yeah, those were the performances that stuck out to me that I enjoyed and liked what they did. And then I also liked the setting in the third act, being in the toy factory. I like that as a setting to kind of end the film. I thought that was a good location to end the film on. It, it's kind of poetic, because Chucky began in not a toy factory, but in a toy, what's the word? A toy store, I guess is what I'm looking for. So, he started in a toy store, and here he's ending in a toy factory. I thought it was kind of just a neat way to kind of blend that story and that character arc. And yeah, I liked it because it also provides a lot of places for the characters to kind of hide. It offers a lot of opportunities to have some good kills, tie some good kills in there, which they do. So I liked the setting of the toy factory to close out the film. That was a positive for me. So yeah, those were all the things that I liked in Child's Play 2, moving into the things that I didn't necessarily like all that much, didn't care for. One of them was the story here. I personally wasn't a fan of the story. I felt like it was just kind of lazy and incoherent in a couple of ways. Taking the mom and the detective characters out of the film, I don't think was a good idea, because they were both very strong characters. You know, I liked both of those characters quite a bit from the first Child's Play. And so removing them from the film, for me, was a negative, because you're taking two characters that I really liked out of the franchise now. And we only, in return, to replace them, we only get one good character, being Kyle. So you take two away and you only give us one in return. So there's already a deficiency there, in my opinion. So I wasn't a fan of taking those characters out of the story. I thought wasn't good. And the way, the execution of it, like the story that we get to write those characters off, I don't think it was very coherent. You know, like we're told that the mom is, you know, in a psych ward because she, you know, in the trial was adamant that the doll was trying to kill her son. And I just feel like that was a very lazy way to write all those characters, because I don't buy that specifically the detective guy would allow him or Andy's mom to make that profession in a trial. Like, he would know that if you take that to trial, that you would be laughed out of the courtroom. And so in my opinion, I feel like the logical conclusion to how the first one ends would be the detective guy and Andy's mom come up with an alibi for what happened. I mean, they're the only two there, along with the other assistant detective guy, but he would just follow the lead of the main detective. I just feel like there were a number of logical outs that you could have come up with to satisfy the court if it goes to court. So I don't know. For me, the explanation that they give for why the mom's not in the picture, or why the detective's not in the picture, it's not satisfying to me. I just don't buy it. I don't like the story that we get of Andy just being put in a foster home here, and being on the run. So yeah, I just felt like it was kind of lazy and incoherent. Wasn't a fan of that. Also, the foster parents, not really a fan of. The mom's okay. The mom was fine, but the dad in particular, not a fan of that character. And I don't think you're necessarily meant to like him as a character. But yeah, I just found him quite annoying too. Like the fact that there's supposed to be these experienced foster parents, and yet the foster dad doesn't even stop to think of giving Andy the rules of the house before bringing him to the house. Like, he's giving Andy these rules as Andy is living in the house. You know, rule number 2, Andy, rule number 5. Like, dude, that should be something you lay out before you get to the house, or like when you first get there. Sit him down and give him the rules, but don't be just giving him the rules sporadically as he's living there. Like, that makes no sense, especially if you're experienced foster parents like they're supposed to be in this film. So I just don't buy some of the ways that they run that foster home. Don't care for him as a character. I find him kind of quite annoying. So yeah, that was something else that I didn't really care for. Also, the production design of the foster home, I'm not a fan. To me, that house looked like a grandma's house. You know, like the way that the pink walls, and just kind of the way that it's set up. Like, I don't buy that a foster home. Now, I've never lived in a foster home, so I can't testify to what they actually look like on the inside. I have seen the inside of some foster homes, but I just don't, to me, I didn't really like the production design, the setup of the house, the interior of the foster house in here just didn't look genuine. It didn't really look how I would imagine a foster home would look like on the inside. So that was also that, I personally didn't care for. I'm not saying this is something that's objectively wrong with the film. This is just something that my personal taste, I personally disliked with the film. Also, Chucky finding Andy's location was kind of a bit lazy to me as well. Like, he just calls up child services and they just give him the information that he needs. I just felt like that was a bit of a stretch. Like, anybody can just phone up childcare and find out any information about any of the kids that they want. Maybe it's just, living in today's society, you would never cut that would never wash today. There's much more stronger safety protocols in place today. But even back then, 1989, 1990, I don't know that I buy that someone could just call up childcare and find out anything they want to know about any random kid in the service. So yeah, I don't know. For me, I feel like that was a bit lazy, and I didn't really care for that. How he comes to find Andy's location. I get that he had to find Andy somehow, but I just felt like you could maybe have done it in a better, more thought out way than the way that they did that in the film. And then another negative for me would be Chucky coming back to life at the start of this film. Like, it almost felt like there's nothing we can really do now to him, because if the spirit of Charles Lee Ray was supposed to inhabit the doll, the good guy doll in the first one, that good guy doll was killed in the first one. It was destroyed. It was shot, head blown off, burned, set on fire. Like, that good guy doll died in the first one. And if Charles Lee Ray was essentially had become human, is what they were kind of making it out to be in the first one by the end, then if that doll dies, which it clearly did, then Charles Lee Ray should have died with the doll. Like, I don't buy, like, just because we can put the pieces of the doll back together, that means the spirit comes back to life. So if we did that with someone that's been blown up and who has clearly died, if we just stitch their arms and their legs back together and screw their head back together, that person will just magically come back to life because we put their parts back together? No, right? That makes no sense. So why is it happening here with Charles Lee Ray? Like, if that doll dies, Charles should die with them. So the fact that he's just magically able to come back to life here because they put the Chucky doll back together, to me was again lazy, not well thought out. You have to bring him back somehow. I get it. You kind of have to go along with the ride, but I don't know. I don't know what you do. I haven't actually sat down in a writing room to try to come up with ideas, but for me, again, my personal experience with the film, that was something that I disliked, how they did that. It just expect you to buy in to Chucky being alive again, Charles Lee Ray being back in the spirit of this doll. Just go with it, without giving us any type of explanation as to how he was able to do that. Maybe that's just me. I like to know the whys of things. That's just how I'm wired. I like to know whys and hows. And for me, that just felt kind of, I wasn't satisfied with not even having an explanation as to how or why Charles Lee Ray was able to just come back to life, his spirit in the Chucky doll again. So yeah, there you go. And then the one other negative that I have with this film was, again, the false endings. I'm not a fan of this. I don't mind one false ending in a horror film, but when you give me like 2 or 3 false endings in a row, it just takes me out of the film, man. And they did that in the first one. That was one of my negatives with the first one, and they did that again here, which shows that they clearly didn't learn from that first one. They didn't, clean that up. They just carried it over and put it in this one. And I'm just not a fan of that. I don't like multiple false endings back to back to back. Like, just end it. Just wrap it up one time. Yeah, it can work if you set it up right. But there's no reason, there's no point to keep those going, because after the first time, it's like you expect it. So any effects that you're trying to evoke from that doesn't work, at least not for me, because I know what you're doing, and I'm expecting it now. So it's just, it takes me out of the film, man, when you have multiple false endings like that in a row. They did in the first, and then they brought it again over in the second one. So I'm more harder on it in this one than I am in the first one, because it was in my opinion, a negative for me in the first, and they didn't clean that up in the second one. So I have to penalize it a little bit harder in this one because they didn't learn from it from the first one. So yeah, that's about it. Those are the things that my dislikes with Child's Play 2. Overall, my overall thoughts, I'm going to give this one 3.5 stars. I do like this film quite a bit. It is still a very good horror film, a very good Chucky film, one of the better ones in the franchise, and I did have a good time with it. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, but I would recommend giving it a viewing. But yeah, there you go, guys. That is Child's Play 2 and my thoughts on the film. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you like this film? Do you dislike it? Do you agree with my opinion? Anything and everything you want to let me know in the comment section. All I ask that you be respectful and we can have a good time. But until next time, you freaks, kick it and rock on.